Hello, YouTube world. Here we are again. Conservative Principles with Scott. And we've got our girl Sophia here with us. She's changed her name to Mike Fleurbeaux. No, I'm just kidding. She's being a little late. That's okay. She's a little bit fashionably late. What's going on, Mike?
That's okay. Not much, Scott. How's everything going, my friend?
Man, it's going, man. It's going. I've came in my other little room because I'm having a little AC problem. I got to recharge the AC, the Freon's out and stuff. So it's kind of hot in there. So at least I've got a ceiling fan. So I've got that going. And I'm having a bad hair day. So I thought I'd put on a hat because I don't want you guys, it's very important that I look very beautiful at all times.
Presentable.
Just like you, Mike. Just like you. I mean, we can't all be like you. Right?
Well, sure.
Sure. So tonight we're going to actually be talking about this little mermaid, black mermaid. I thought mermaids were green and with red hair and white. We can't have a black mermaid. That's just wrong, right?
No, I don't really care.
Nobody cares. Well, I've actually, unfortunately, I think they do care. There's a lot of people that do care about this kind of stuff. Have you had any experiences or conversations about people that have gone ape shit over this thing?
I've seen a lot of noise about the whole, controversy, and some of the people that are making a fuss over it, I can kind of see the angle. Okay, because you're taking an established character, right? Mm-hmm. And you're altering it, okay, for a particular audience. Or in other words, let's just appropriate something that's already existing, that's made a lot of money. Let's change it to something else that departs from the original by a significant degree. And then, see what happens. And so my argument for all this kind of like alteration is, why not just make a new character? Why not make new storylines? Why not make, rather than take established characters that are beloved by pretty much anybody that's watched them for any length of time? Because I don't think you have to be in a particular lane to enjoy a character of a given, caricature, right? Right. And so, because there's nothing preventing, other than maybe a lack of desire, will from the studios to make new characters, right? That, because when these characters came to be, nothing existed before them, and they just made, new characters that were based on older stories and so on. And they made a classical thing. So then now they're taking the classical thing and altering it. So I can see that, why some people would get very upset about that. On the flip side of that is the conversation of representation, right? So kids growing up in Black American communities and stuff, they are not seeing themselves represented, and that is true. But again, this goes back to then make characters, if you want, to run parallel, or just integrate them into the story, which has been happening for many, many years, right? Yeah. And so and it's mostly clickbait, in my opinion.
That's how it comes across to me. It's like, for me, it's like we live in a climate that's politically correctness is really charged right now, right? Like we've got all
It's been that way. It's been that way for the last 25 years.
Yes, yeah. And it's just getting more. It just changes.
To varying levels.
To varying levels, exactly. And so, Hollywood isn't stupid. I mean, they are capitalists. They're trying to make a buck. And they're trying to get some. They're trying to get some, some views, some, spotlight on their stuff. And what a better way to do it than controversy. Like, I know I've been in the music business for quite a while. And one of the things that the record labels love is when they have an artist that's controversial and can stir up a lot of shit, because it just means more attention to the record, essentially. Yeah.
But there's one critical element of that concept, is that the stuff that was so controversial, it was also good. It was also good.
Right.
You can be controversial and be good. right? It can be a
But
good
nowadays it's
storyline.
controversially terrible. Yeah. Check this out. We're going to shock them to death. We're going to come out and we're going to sound like shit. Wow.
Well, you know, as it pertains to the music industry, I can literally say that we can blame Cher for autotune.
Yeah. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You know, the voice box had been around, you know, like Roger and, you know, all of these different funk and soul groups used to use the voice box.
Yeah, but that's different, man.
That's way different.
The voice box, that was cool, man. That was cool.
The vocoder,
yes.
Yeah, that stuff was.
They shoved the hose up in there and the wah wah. It was great.
Make their guitar talk. I mean, it was cool, you know.
Yeah,
but
and
stuff, yeah.
I mean, The Little Mermaid's not the only film that, you know, that's been controversialized. And I saw one meme that was like, oh, well, if you were mad about The Little Mermaid being black, wait till, you know, James Bond. And I'm like, okay, Idris Elba is a phenomenal actor. Okay.
Yeah.
Phenomenal actor. And as long as they stay true to like the format of 007,
right,
the Idris Elba 007 is going to do really well.
Yes.
Right. And from the trailer that I saw for Little Mermaid, the cinematography is awful. The coloring is awful. Like the backgrounds, everything's like, you know, the CGI is bad. It's lazily done from what I can see, you know, and so there's going to be a lot of elements aside from the controversy of, you know, the current Little Mermaid being black. You know, the singer, the gal who plays, she's got a great voice, but it's far too, you know, and so it's like you don't have to present all of your talent in a 3-minute song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's appropriate times to, you know, to make something that everybody can really enjoy listening to. And so when you're going all over the, you know, the choral range, you're like, oh boy, yes, you have a great voice, but it's too much.
It's too much.
Can you just, you know?
Yeah, you know, and you're going to get critics that'll be like, yeah, you know, they're too much and they're overdoing it. And yeah, we get it. You can sing, you know, we get it. But it's like any good song, like what was that song I was listening to? Michael McDonald, an old song where he was really mellow and cool throughout the song. But then there's a certain part of the song where he just unloads and really shows his voice and stuff for like less than 30 seconds. The rest of it calms down, shows control, and shows, you know, some discipline and art.
Well, I mean, look at Mariah Carey. Phenomenal voice, phenomenal, you know, singer. Every ounce and shred of talent to her ability and skill and staying power. Okay, great talent. The delivery, it seems like the stuff that I'm familiar with is just there's too much of it in every song.
It's overdone.
Yeah,
you can overdo it, man. You can do too much shit, man.
Think of it this way, okay? You go to a dealership to test drive a car, okay? And the sales guy goes, oh, you want to see this car? Great, let me grab the key. And you haven't even had a chance to look at it. He throws you in the car, and the first thing he does, he goes in the freeway and goes 140 miles an hour. Isn't that great?
Right.
No.
No, it's not great. It's like, it's good for one thing, but does it do all the other things I need? Like, there's more to a movie, a song, a performer than just a one-trick pony, you know? It's like you want to see a wide range of ability. That's what makes a person richness and texture as an artist, as a song, as a movie, as a this and that.
Yeah. And that's what I go over, you know, in my own podcast and stuff, which I'm actually overdue on a couple of episodes, but given everything going on, it's been
shout out your channel, please, because we need to let people know.
So basically, I have a podcast called The Raven's Den. It's on Spotify, and you can look up Mike Fleurbeaux, The Raven's Den. I've got 5 episodes currently uploaded, and I've got 4.5, and I'm currently producing episodes 5, 6, and 7 that I should hopefully have up in the next couple of days. And so I go over this exact topic. I go over music and kind of my takes on lesser known artists, but not necessarily all not lesser known artists. And I cover pretty much anybody that I like, because I've been involved in alternative music, in some degree since the mid 1990s. So I just turned 45.
Okay, you're right up there with moi.
Yay! The Gen Xers, man, the Gen Xers. We got to combat the boomers. The boomer squad.
Baby. We in the house. We're right there in the middle, man.
Yeah. So going back to the virtue signaling thing, I was, what's your take on this whole thing with Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, like with the the export, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's like I was talking to somebody yesterday about that, or was it today? I think we're one of these days recently, and made a point that they'll probably take them in and not have a problem. But my thought is, I mean, I don't know, because we won't know until the whole thing plays out. But my thought is it may show a lot of hypocrisy on the other side here about that issue, because
it's exposing lots of hypocrisy
already. That's what I'm saying. Not that that's the only issue. We already talked about this backstage. There's a lot of issues where there's
exactly.
On the other side. Exactly. What do you think?
So this is the thing, okay? And as with every political issue, there's complexity, there's nuance, there's more detail in the salacious headlines, okay? And so for those that have been perhaps living under a rock or in a basement, tucked away, Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott of Texas basically flew migrants from Texas essentially to places like DC, New York, and so on. The one that was the most controversial was when Ron DeSantis sent 50 migrants on 2 separate private charters from Texas, then to Florida, and then to Martha's Vineyard. Now, interesting about Martha's Vineyard, for those who have not looked at it and know wouldn't know what it is, it's essentially one of the most exclusive residences, the most exclusive zip codes in the country. The cheapest house, I want to say, is around $1.5 million, and that's for something rather small. And so they flew these migrants there and effectively say, hey, Massachusetts is not officially a sanctuary state, but there's lots of sanctuary cities within. And Martha's Vineyard, they have all these signs up that say, immigrants are welcome here. No one is illegal. We welcome these immigrants and stuff. And they're like, okay, cool. We think in your community, you can handle 50. Okay. Because, Texas and Florida, we have quite a few. Okay?
Quite a few, yeah.
So DeSantis seeks out these volunteers, and they have them fill out a permission, or not a permission, but like a disclosure form, and say, hey, your final destination is going to be Massachusetts. Okay. So then he flies them out there. They land in Martha's Vineyard, and the we're like, oh, we're not set up for this. We have a housing crisis. Hang on. Let me look and see what's available on Airbnb. Oh, you have several hundred rooms available on Airbnb. So I think I'm not good at math. Hang on. Several hundred. Oh yeah. That's more than 50. There's also several 600 homes available in that region that are for sale. So there's plenty of space. There's plenty of space that they could at least do whatever. But nothing goes faster than how quickly they were essentially removed from the island, and then all this controversy. Oh, how dare they do this? We're not set up for this. This is kidnapping. This is human trafficking. We're going to launch an investigation against Governor DeSantis. And you had the one of the county sheriffs in Texas is like, this is kidnapping, and blah, 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 blah. And he's just we're going to launch an investigation. So it's like, okay, sure. Did you see the forms that were in Spanish that were filled out and say, hey, we're going to send you to your final destination is Massachusetts? And last I checked, Martha's Vineyard is in Massachusetts. And they sent them to where they said they were going to go. Didn't charge them. They offered them. They gave them showers. They gave them food. They gave them clothes. They gave them, all sorts of things. And kind of sent them off the way. And then the argument kind of shifts. Oh, they spent taxpayer money to do this. I'm like, well, hang on. How much taxpayer money is it going to take to, intake hundreds and hundreds of thousands of more residents either in Texas or in Florida or any of the other, kind of border states? And we already take in, a significant amount of people from Cuba. And that is meaningful to me because I'm half Cuban. My mother came from Cuba in 1963 on Operation Pedro Pan. Okay. And she came here legally. My father also came from out of the country, also came here legally. So as a first generation born American, the way I see it, the people that cross the border illegally are actually spitting in the faces of those that go through the the people that go through the process that clearly needs to be streamlined, that clearly needs to be improved.
Right. Well, see,
they're going through the headache.
I think that the media sort of sweeps that part under the rug by bringing up other so-called controversies. Like I was listening to NPR, and I think they had interviewed like several migrants. Now they said they thought they were headed to Boston for like an expedited visa, and one immigrant said like he had boarded the plane with little information in hand, and then boom, DeSantis sort of took credit for some, as they term it, like a political stunt. So he chartered like 2 planes and sent dozens of migrants to the vineyard without alerting local officials as a political move to sort of slam Biden in his administration and kind of woo the conservative voters that way, right? And so they're trying to like build this picture of it being strictly a political move at the expense of informing the people who were involved. But again, it's sort of hiding the fact that, like you said, when we're talking about principles, we're talking about illegal immigration, first of all. So that really is kind of like a red herring in a way.
It is. It's the whole purpose. Okay, when you look at since the Biden administration took power, okay, their policy on the border was to say one thing: the border's closed, don't come, blah 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 blah, but then prevent and demonize the ICE and Border Patrol and immigration customs enforcement. And so much so like they had this photographer take pictures of these border agents that were whipping these migrants. Turns out it was all a big lie. Okay. An investigation was held and found no wrongdoing because they just had reins, and one of the guys was trying to grab the reins, and he wasn't whipping anybody. So much so the photographer was like, dude, I was the one that took the pictures. Okay. That's not what was going on. So they were cleared. So did Biden apologize? No.
Never. Right.
Okay? No, he still punished them. He still punished them for doing literally nothing.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
They were doing their job. And the thing is, if we want to talk about doing one's job, the president of the United States, regardless of who it is to faithfully execute the laws of this country. And one of the big laws in this country is to enforce the border laws. Okay. If you want to come to this country and seek asylum, there are legal routes to do it. You go to an embassy, you go to the border, you apply at the border, and you wait on the border. That's why the Remain in Mexico policy was reinstated by Supreme Court. And Biden's like, I don't gonna buy that. Make me. Okay. And that's he's derelict in his duty in a number of things, and specifically on his enforcing of longstanding American law as it pertains to the U.S. border. Okay. Right. So we got Kamala Harris going on there, and she says, hey, the border's closed, don't come. But is anybody taking her seriously? No. Okay. And then you ask, the immigrants to come here. Oh, no, the border's open. But going back to what you were saying a minute ago, when you talk to the, when you were relaying this, well, they had an immigrant say this, this thing about he didn't know where he was going, whatever. There's not that I've seen it. I could be wrong, but there's no interview as of yet, which the window for that to have come out would have been a couple days ago. Okay. The day that it occurred was to interview these migrants and say, hey, how was it that you came to be here? And they could have said, well, yeah, we were told that there was going to be, you know, rainbows and bubble gum and, you know, all this other stuff. But conveniently, there's no evidence other than people making claims that DeSantis did all these terrible things and tricked people and fooled them and yada, 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 right?
He was
Which
just trolling liberal cities or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I'll get to that in just a second. So by saying that, they don't even realize that they're saying that these people are so dumb that they're easily fooled by a piece of paper.
Right.
Okay. I don't think these people are dumb. And so, you know, like, what do you do? You know, now,
exactly.
One of the reasons why
we got a comment directed at you from Forrest Taylor. I didn't want to miss it for it scrolls up too long because the chat is really active right now, which is awesome. Forrest Taylor says, how exactly did Biden punish someone? I must have missed that.
I'd have to pull it up. There was when Biden had said that, you know, he was going to investigate these Border Patrol agents that were on horseback, and he was going to, you know, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. What a lot of folks don't realize is that the punishment is the actual process. Having the federal government come down on you to where you have to hire attorneys, right? Which can literally bankrupt pretty much any American citizen. When you have the feds come after you, okay, for BS charges, guess what? Right. You have to defend yourself. And I'm sorry, attorneys are not cheap. Good attorneys are expensive. Okay. So the punishment may not be, they may know very knowingly well know that there's no way they can convict you, right? But putting you through the actual process will bankrupt you.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And it's exactly true. I mean, that's how they get you to shut up about certain things. They'll just sue you.
Right, and conviction is not the only punishment.
Right, absolutely. And you know, we also have a comment. What is her name? Zella Weisenblut. She says we deport people all the time, a few at a time. What's more expensive, a few at a time, a ton of times, or one trip? They are all illegal immigrants, and we are not pro-amnesty. And she's talking about herself as an immigrant herself, which I can sort of relate to because my ex-wife was an immigrant. And we had to go through the paperwork, the process. It was very expensive. And just to see people come in illegally and free and jump the line is not fair. It's just not. It's a matter of fairness. Now, I understand that people sort of look at this like, it's cruelty, you know, it's not right to treat humans that way, blah, blah, blah. But look, we were talking about this earlier. Obama deported more immigrants in his term, and nothing was ever said about it than any other previous Republican president, you know, at that point. And so where is the consistency? And why is it okay then, but now it's bad now? Have we become, as a society, so sensitive to the plight of the illegal immigrant that we can't even call them illegal immigrants anymore?
Yeah, the administration has gone through it and removed things like illegal immigrants are now undocumented persons and things of that nature. And that's a topic for a whole nother discussion.
True.
And so what Mitzi was talking about is that she reached back here. Let's see. Forrest says, hey, Matilda, I can't talk. Illegal immigrants still have rights. And so Matella responds, no, they don't. They have committed a crime by coming here illegally. They are not here legally sworn to accept to be protected by our rights. Having humane treatment is different. Rights they do not have. Now, there's some nuance within that response. When an illegal immigrant comes here, they've by coming here illegally, they have committed a crime. Now, the severity of the crime can be argued, but just for the sake of a black and white discussion, let's just say they broke the law by coming into the country illegally, right? They have a right for a hearing. They have a right for a trial. They have a right to have their reasoning heard because, of course, every incident is individual. So many people are here seeking asylum, and that's a whole nother different discussion as far as what qualifies as asylum, but they do have the right to be heard, okay? Now, one of the things that the Texas sheriff was saying is that they had every legal right to be here. Not exactly. Okay, and I'll disagree with them on that, because while they do have rights while they're here, okay, because it's not like, oh, you're an illegal immigrant, okay, well, we're going to line up against the wall and shoot you. No, don't do that. They have rights just like every other people, any other person that's here. They have those rights to be heard. They have a right to counsel. They have a right to a defense. All those things, right? And so, but the fact remains is that, okay, they came here illegally. What do they do when they got here, right? A lot of them here that are here, they want the same things that we want. They want a better life. They want a better, situation for them, for their family, and so on. But there's also another kind of an unknown quantity, because we don't vet who's coming through illegally, hence why it's illegal, of who's coming here, right? When we have uncontrollable amounts of fentanyl and other drugs coming across the border that, mind you, are being shipped to Mexico from China, and they're flying them in. They're not flying them in like little fields.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Correct. They're flying them into the main airport. So why is the equivalent of Mexico's border patrol, okay, and I can't think of the term off the top of my head, but their customs, okay, why aren't they catching these copious amounts of fentanyl coming through the border? Because the government in Mexico, I think they're getting a cut of that. I don't have any proof of that, but that's my speculation. Hey, Sophia, how are you?
So beautiful. Sophia's here. How's it going? I think she froze. Uh-oh.
She's got that look of like, this thing better work.
Yeah, she looks like she's just looking at me like I'm crazy right now.
She's got that intense gaze.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna remove her real quick. I don't think she'd appreciate being on the screen frozen, so I'm gonna do that out of kindness of my heart. I didn't have to do that, Sophie. I could have left you out there. But see, I'm a nice guy. I'm a wonderful guy. In fact, I'm so wonderful, the way I look at it, I believe that the reason women have short feet is because nature wants them to be closer to the stove and closer to the washing machine.
Oh my God.
And that's how nature decided women, and I'm serious now. Come on now, don't laugh at me. I know it sounds crazy, but not me.
The washing machine only was invented maybe 150 years ago.
We'll see. God knew. No, I was kidding. I told her that joke today. She about died.
Man, that's going to be a hot take on somebody's feed in the future. I can tell you right now.
Yeah. I'm such a dick.
Oh my word. Hey, so would you want to, since we're having some challenges with Sophia, Mitzella wants to hop on. Do you want to send her a link?
Yeah, we have call-ins. That's what we have the call-in for. So let me.
How does one do that?
All they have to do is click the link. I just put it up there. You'll see it says StreamYard.com with some strange alien word after it. Only I understand what it means.
Some strange alien word.
If you click on that.
No, actually, hang on. I've seen that word before. Joe Biden said it several times.
Yes, he did. See, he's in the know. He's one of the reptilians.
True enough, stop the pressure. Better calf care.
Okay. He knows better than all of us. But yeah, just click on that link and you can jump right in. We're taking call-ins, of course. So the more the merrier. We want people to get engaged in the conversation. And she's asking how. Add me. Just click on the link. I'll post it one more time. Click that link. Take your mouse. Boom. And then you'll see you can put your name in, and then you'll be backstage and I'll bring you right on. I promise you.
There you
Come
go.
right on in. We've been waiting for you.
I love it. No, this is this is one reason I like the whole StreamYard platform, because the show can evolve live, and like, you know, it's like, let's see where it goes. It's gonna be cool,
what
man.
it is, man. That's what it is, dude. Everybody has a platform now. You don't have to be a movie star.
Well, and that's one of the best things about, you know, this technology, because you know, we can do this, we can communicate, we can establish friendships and that kind of stuff, you know. And I think that's kind of the magic of what do you call it, just the modern era, you know.
Man, that's why God made the internet. Okay, so here comes Sophia.
Let's try again.
Things are better. Hey girl, look at you. Are you frozen?
Oh, hey, I see eye movement.
I see your eyes.
I see eye movement.
This is terrible.
Oh no.
What are the bars?
Uh-oh.
They're doing the same shit on every network.
I know, man. Well, let's keep it going. Did you reset your modem before you came in? There you go. I see you now.
On that.
Okay.
Oh boy. Technically, the challenges of live streaming.
Hey man, it's just the devil, man. The devil. You know, we got to fight the devil. Let's all say a prayer for Sophia, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love Sophia. She's awesome.
Yes. You know, God loves men. That's why it's a men and not a woman. Okay. Anyways.
Dude, I remember when that all can't. Hey, it's Mitzi. I remember when all that happened. I was just like, goodness.
I am so sorry that I'm like this, but I'm in bed and I was like, no, I gotta jump on.
That's all right. You're gonna join the party, you know.
Yep. Now, full disclosure, Mitzi's actually a friend of mine. So.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Hey, Sophia, can you hear us?
Hey, we got. Oh wow.
We got two.
We got full motion.
Why is my headband? You like my headband?
It's lovely.
Yes. Sophia, can you see us? Can you hear us? Can you see us? I don't think so. But anyways, Mitzi, start. Dr. Mitzi, start. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hi. Oh, well, my name is Mitzi. Well, obviously, you saw that it said Mitzella Wise and Blood, but I go by Mitzi Stark just because it's a lot easier and for privacy purposes, because Mike knows me very well and he knows the reason for it, and it's also a lot easier to just say Mitzi than anything. And I'm a huge Iron Man fan. I do have I have a PhD from the Kennedy School of Government in International Affairs and Foreign Policies. And immigration is something that's very, very close and dear to my heart.
Okay.
This whole thing, it's always been very, very close to my heart, and that's something because, number one, both of my brothers are federal agents. Yes, I'm going to say it, Mike. My son's godfather is Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
congratulations. My entire family has migrated over and over and over and over for the past 80 plus years since the Holocaust.
Okay.
From different countries to Mexico to Honduras to all of that. So when I was trying to find out my heritage, that's when I started to really learn about the laws and all of that. And Operation Just Cause in Panama, that's when I came to the United States. And that's when I started to learn really about how it all worked, how it was that we were able to come in. And with my brothers both being, one is an ICE agent and the other one is a CBP officer. Obviously, I hear a lot of, because they work strictly with international. They don't work anything domestically. So one of my brothers, like you were mentioning earlier about the cost, for example, just to touch back on that subject, what I was trying to kind of explain is that when Biden's administration deports 2 or 3 people, or they because that's what happens. My brother used to have this job. Okay, my brother used to get on a plane. We live in Miami. One of the biggest immigration detention centers, which is Chrome, is here in Miami. So he worked at a Chrome at the beginning of his career. Now he's working out of DC, but he works from home. But he works directly from DC. He works directly like to DC. But he would get on a plane, take 3 people, literally get to the airport, drop them off, get back on the plane, and fly back. So they're tossing billions of dollars. This administration is tossing billions of dollars for all these other bills and all these other things that really are not needed. Okay? And nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. Biden is deporting people, but like I said, by 3, by 4, by whatever. That amount cumulative, when you add it all together, it's more expensive than just sending a flight to Martha's Vineyard. The whole situation with the Martha's Vineyard and the whole confusion with the whole Chicago thing was that DeSantis gave them a brochure. And I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read the lawsuit.
Give us the highlights.
The lawsuit towards DeSantis?
Yeah, give us the highlights on that.
Okay. So in the lawsuit, it clearly states it's going to backfire on them completely. Because it clearly states...
Oh, like everything else?
Basically. It clearly states... I mean, I think that the issue here where the problem arises, but I wrote in the thing, they assumed. When you assume, that's your problem. They made really nice brochures with like people working, and they had images of people working, people getting like dollar bills, and people having nice houses, and people took that as that was what they were being promised. No, it was just a pamphlet so they could understand what was going to happen.
Well, it was a pamphlet and a disclosure that was essentially them, agreeing that that's where they were going to go. No,
that they were going to be taken, right? But
yeah, this is your final destination will be Massachusetts.
It wasn't Chicago. They were under the impression that they were actually going to go to DC. So the whole thing was that in the abstract portion of the lawsuit they're basically saying DeSantis, wanted the migrants, because now we can't use no longer the term immigrants, which, like Mike had said earlier, I mean, you can't call them illegal immigrants anymore. Immigrants, the term immigrants is really for illegal immigrants. Migrants are the legal ones. That's from a political definition.
Right.
Okay, fair point.
By the way, Mitzi, is there any way to turn down the video, the volume coming through your
that's just because I talk very loud. Sorry.
It's just cracking it up a little bit. I was just trying to say so people can, but go right ahead.
So people make all these things about all this fuss about them going to Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, I mean, I have a very, very close friend of mine that lives in Nantucket. And obviously she's very upset because, you know, she's been telling me, she's like, well, taxes are, and I'm kind of like, that's the state you chose to live in.
Mm-hmm.
You chose to live in that. You're going to pay for it. I'm sorry. And I am completely against anybody else moving to Florida, especially after COVID. Especially after Cuomo sent all those spring breakers to Florida and destroyed Broward and Miami-Dade and Tampa and the Hillsborough, Tampa, Emerald Coast. It was a disaster.
Hard. Yeah, I remember in Panama City they had the big spring break, and it was a disaster.
Miami-Dade and Broward County were the hardest hit counties in the entire country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they're talking about all this money. And now even DeSantis said, well, you know, these are 50 people. That's just one plane.
2 planes.
That's not billions of dollars.
Exactly.
Right.
But when Biden does it, no one says a word.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, they deny it. They're not doing it in the middle of the night. They're doing it at 3 a.m.
No, that's BS. And I can guarantee you that because I know that from my brothers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and I was pointing out because Jen Psaki was saying that, oh no, it's not in the middle of the night. It's right, it's like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm like, what's the freaking difference?
Sorry,
potato. See, I'm deliberately not vaping for this episode for one of the viewers. So
really,
sorry.
Yes. You're good.
Because I'm getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
But and I'm under 4 blankets.
Yeah. Nice
but
and
I mean, this whole thing, and Mike had a very, very valid point, because one of the things that is being very, and unfortunately I tend to go all over the place. I'm sorry. I haven't done a lot of speaking, and Mike knows that. But
okay.
One of the points that I want to touch that Mike is absolutely 100% right about, and I want to add to it, is the whole fentanyl problem that we're having in this nation right now. Now, the problem with the immigrants that a lot of people don't realize is that when people want to feel, I mean, yes, from a humane point of view, okay, having emotions, it's very sad. It is very sad that these people don't, are in whatever situation they are in. Okay? As a scientist, I have to look at it objectively. So I have to look at the facts. The facts are, they're not from this country. My father fought for 2 years because our country was getting invaded. I came from Panama. So my school was bombed, and I was lifted out of debris when I was a little girl, when I was around like 7 years old. No, like 6 years old. Okay. So I know what it's like to live in a third world country in a really bad situation.
Right.
My mom is from Colombia. She dealt with Escobar. Her family was kidnapped, and my dad is Jewish. And his father was held in Buchenwald in one of the concentration camps that was liberated, thankfully. So the issue with the immigrants coming in, and this all started, and Trump made a point to say this and state this of how bad the fentanyl problem was. The issue with when the caravan started to happen, the issue is that a lot of the people, the biggest issue that we have is the largest gang in the world called MS-13.
Right.
MS-13 has started to infiltrate and obviously we know that they're from El Salvador. They have started to infiltrate other gangs. They have started to amass like intake other gangs, and they're also starting to recruit Al Qaeda members.
Right.
So what is it that they do? And people are all worried about, well, they're coming here as immigrants. Well,
right.
What they're doing is that they're going to countries like Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, countries that are having issues. And they tell these families, hey, you know what? Well, first of all, sometimes they'll just kidnap their children, or they'll tell them, look, we'll give you a certain amount of money. And for them, a little bit of money is a lot of money. If you give me your child, and we'll promise that your child will have a much better future in the United States. So then they come to the United States here illegally with the pretense of being a family.
But it's going to cost you $10,000 a month or per person or whatever. You know,
right.
You're going to owe us $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for each person that gets across the border.
Right. So then when the kids get here, who are the ones that are hurt? The kids, because the kids get completely abandoned. The adults
One second. Sophia, we see you on the screen, but can you unmute so we can hear you? Unless you're frozen.
Yeah, I think she's froze again.
Oh no.
The internet has been awful the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some issues. There's been notification issues. There's been a handful of fuckery going around.
Well, it's the devil, you know, and the way the devil works is he doesn't like to hear righteous information come through over the internets. You know, the devil.
No, my brother had to contact Facebook because they tried to ban me. So they're not allowed to ban me.
Thanks science
so
for
go
that.
Back into the fentanyl thing. So they come in and they use that that premise of having a family unit when what they're doing is actually bringing in. There's Sophia. I can see her moving.
Sophia,
oh, we got clarity. All right.
Unmute your mic, sweetie. We can't hear you.
She can hear us. She's smiling.
No, hi everybody. My stuff is.
Hey, there you go.
Hi, Sophia. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. Y'all don't mind me yet because my stuff is still messing up. Okay, so don't pay no attention to me yet.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
So the adults are bringing in the fentanyl, and then they're getting rid of the kids. Unfortunately, we have to do something about the kids. We can't. They're not adults. They can't fend for themselves. So then the taxpayers have to pay for those kids, and of course, nobody's gonna let kids starve. They're children.
Exactly.
Right.
They're the innocent ones in this whole equation.
Yeah, they're the collateral damage.
And if you want to talk about pawns being used for political attention, it's the migrants that these cartels are using and charging tens of thousands of dollars to, getting them just to get them to the border, right?
Oh yeah, they're making millions.
and then they have mules on the other side of the border that are being captured on the daily. Okay, with like that one incident where they had the 52 migrants that were essentially cooked alive. Okay, who received them on the other side of the border? Who's paying them? Right. So you want to talk about pawns? You talked about the cartels that are bringing these migrants over here, putting them at risk. Then the ones that are fortunate enough to survive, just being alive, not to mention the ones that are raped, not to mention the ones that get killed by crossing, or that starve to death, or that burn, that burn to death. Okay, you want to talk about who's using them as pawns? Let's stop looking at the governors of red states and calling them the Satan. Okay, let's talk about the actual guys that are putting these people in there because what they want is to get a better chance at life.
Well, this is what
spare me the absolute lunacy of this nonsense of putting the blame on a governor who's the ones that made it here to put him in a better spot for places the people that want them in the first place.
Well, here's a basic question that Leah asked. She says, do you, in your experience, really believe that the majority of illegal immigrants entering the country are really criminals or in gangs? Do you really believe that? And I don't think that's your point. Your point is that the gangs are behind using the people as pawns so they can get paid.
Well, let me expand on that just a little bit, okay? Because at the end of the day, we don't know which ones are pawns. You know, the ones that are the gangs. We don't know the ones that are actually here not for nefarious purposes, right? Because there's no vetting. There's no vetting going on. There's no investigation. Okay, you're cool. You're cool. You're cool. Not you. Okay, and that's the problem. That's why we have border procedure. That's why remaining in Mexico was such an important thing, to give at least a semblance of a chance to figure out which ones are bad and which ones are good.
Well, the investigation process is that hearing in front of the judge, supposedly.
Right, but the backlog is millions of people. The backlog is millions of people, and you're not going to have enough judges to do anything timely to have these asylum hearing heard. Okay, so the whole point of this exercise by the Biden administration, I believe 110%, is to overload the system too much to where they throw the hands up and says, hey, there's so many here, we're just going to have to give them all asylum. And that's been a goal for the last 35 years.
I will disagree with that, and I'll disagree with you with this because it's, even though it's a different situation, you know, my whole situation with courts right now. The court system, unfortunately, is extremely backed up, and that's everywhere in the United States due to COVID, because the courthouses and the courthouses were all closed for approximately a year.
Right.
So, for example, if I were to want to file a lawsuit or do anything, it probably won't be heard for another year. I was told back in, I think, May, that if I wanted to go to trial, it won't be until April of next year. And that was on an emergency matter. So, granted, this is different because this is on a federal level. But knowing DeSantis, obviously, you know, he went to my alma mater. He's an amazing lawyer. He's a lieutenant commander. They're going up against the wrong person. The guy is he's 38 years old, and the guy is beyond wise.
He's sharp.
They're gonna lose.
He's sharp, and he doesn't put up. He has all the good qualities of Trump without any of the bad ones.
Yeah,
you know, he has all the. No, okay. He has all the qualities of Trump, and he can talk.
Well, he's not. He's more measured in his responses, and in other words, Trump's kind of the hammer. He's kind of the scalpel.
Well, I think that's what we need, man, because, you know, Trump as a communicator was just a little lacking, and he was a little egotistical, and a lot of this stuff kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, I'll be honest, like, I'm a conservative, but whenever he came on TV, I just wanted to tune him out because it was just embarrassing.
Like, no, I loved listening to him.
Well, here's the thing with that style, okay, and it's fair game to kind of, you know, to criticize it and to critique it and stuff, for sure. All right, because at the end of the day, what is Trump? He's a sales guy. Okay, his job is to sell people on ideas. Okay, and that's why he's been successful, because he sells people on ideas. Right.
He has the charisma for it.
Precisely. He's got the great charisma for it. And the issue that I've found, as being someone who spent 17 years kind of in the sales industry, seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of varieties of sales approaches, okay, Trump's approach works. It works with a lot of people.
Yeah.
However, just like any other salesperson, okay, like because who are the two most hated professions, or what are the two most hated professions in the world? Lawyers and car salesmen. Exactly. Okay, because in effect they kind of do the same thing, right? They got to sell a jury on
emotions. They get in your emotions and they
yes
trigger you to make decisions and behave a certain way just based on painting a picture and getting you emotionally involved.
Build value. Yes, they build value
and that was Trump's strategy in his campaign.
Get your tie down
precisely. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I'm just kind of pointing it out as that's why it rubs some people the wrong way, right? And so, as any sales guy, like if he says this is the greatest thing ever, this is the greatest thing in the world, you'll never like he's never seen before, right? Oh, he's lying because we saw it before over here. I'm like, dude, it's a sales pitch, okay? Yeah. It's a freaking sales pitch.
Yes, it is.
I mean, yeah. He sometimes he's a New Yorker.
Yes,
exactly.
He's a New Yorker, and see,
he's a New York Democrat.
He was better for the Black community. He was better for our international relations.
All the minorities.
He was better. He was better for fighting terrorism. He was better for border control. Like all the main points, he hit them. He checked them off for me. I just didn't like his communication
and
style.
He did what he was. He did what he said he was going to do.
Thing, honestly, I think that bothered me the most about his administration. That went. I mean, I love the guy. Mike knows that I have a shower curtain of him in my bathroom.
All right.
I do. Yeah, ask Mike. He's here. And my entire apartment is basically like Trump.
And Marvel Comics.
And Marvel Comics, yes. Especially Iron Man. But the biggest thing that really upset me about the end of the Trump administration, and I think that it's also because it's a little bit personal when it comes to like international politics and the whole thing, how it affects the entire world, was the Abraham Accords. Oof. My face. I'm sorry if I start to cry. He did a historical, magnificent, super huge thing doing those Abraham Accords. He signed 8 peace treaties. He brokered 8 peace treaties.
Mm-hmm.
Look what's happening now between Russia and Israel. Because we are sticking our nose where it doesn't belong in Ukraine. That man should have earned a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I agree, man. He did a whole lot, especially when the embassy and everything. It's like he did a lot of gestures, and not just word gestures, but tangible gestures that meant a lot to the Jewish people. And
but hang on, he's anti-Semitic.
But he's anti-Semitic.
And the Palestinians were just, kind of put at bay because of that whole situation. And now look at them, because of the way that we have instability with Russia. That's just empowering.
But do you know the background of to what happened, what led to that whole situation of the Palestinians?
Explain it for us. Go ahead.
It was 5 Palestinians. Okay. Netanyahu, when he was the prime minister, basically told them, because there is no such thing as an area called Palestine. Okay?
The name
that
Palestine
doesn't exist.
The name Palestine comes from Roman roots.
Right, but like an area actually designated as Palestine, like legally or governmentally or demographically, that has not existed. It was just an area where once Israel was formed, the people that were there, they moved towards that area, which was towards the name of a mountain. I can't remember the name of the mountain right now. And eventually, when all the problems started arising, Netanyahu said, well, you know what? If you guys aren't going to, we already gave you the West Bank. We already gave you the East Bank. You guys are still attacking us. If you guys have until certain date to move out, because Israel will pay for your rent and will pay for a lot of things. And they said, and if you don't move out by that date, you have to start paying rent. A family of 5 decided to not pay rent. And they were living in a house or in an apartment for a year. So they got deported because they were there illegally. They were giving, and Palestine got upset and said, oh, well, everybody's getting kicked out. And it was just a family of 5 that broke the law. That was what started this whole thing. And then they turned it into, oh no, this was hatred towards Arabs and all of this, and that's not the. If you go to Tel Aviv,
and evidence of that commentary of how Jews hate Arabs, have you seen the Arab population in Jerusalem?
I was just mentioning Tel Aviv.
Yeah,
Tel Aviv is one of the most culturally diverse areas in Israel. And one of the reasons why Trump wanted Jerusalem to become the capital again and move the embassy over there was because he believed that Jerusalem should be the capital for all Abrahamic religions. And that was one of the things that he said when he was signing the Abraham things that was kind of stupid. He said, I wanted to call it the Trump Accords. And I'm like,
well, he's gonna.
We gotta put a big gold letter Trump Accords. Let's put that on there.
Yeah, he's got
to
splash his corporate feces all over the place,
Yeah.
He said this as he's signing him.
Yeah.
And I'm
now to be fair, just to be devil's advocate, was he really being serious, or was he joking, or was he just like joking and hoping someone would say, yeah, that's a good idea?
That sounds like my friend.
I think it was knowing him, I think it was kind of like a slip-up joke that was just really poor timing.
Well, but that was common. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Because everybody in the room just kind of looked at him like, huh? Like, not the right time.
Now, just to briefly segue into one of those moments was when he was, I think he was at the UN, and he was warning about Russia going to be strangling specifically Germany with their energy supply. Okay. And they laughed at him. This was back in, I think, 2018 or 2019. And I think I recall that. The German entourage, they were laughing at him. Like, Russia's not going to stop selling.
Russia, they'll never.
We're not going to. Those guys are fun. This orange man. What is he talking? What does he know? Oh, well, fast forward a couple years.
That didn't age well.
I think we can put that in the Trump was right category.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of there next to all the other ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
See,
this is why Black Mermaid is probably wrong. This is exactly why.
Well, and it's granted this conversation is
Did
kind of
you just say mermaid?
Yeah, the original topic. The original topic was virtue signaling. It, and we just kind of evolved into which is fine because it's an organic conversation.
Yeah, you can't talk about a Black Mermaid, but for more than 10 minutes.
Oh, the whole Little Mermaid. Mermaid.
Now, given Mitzi's expertise in film. Given Mitzi's expertise in film and that kind of stuff, she's a lot more concise with her film critique than I am. I like a film for the actual film. I don't get into all the in-depth, backstories, and I just like, oh, okay, that was a good film, right? Like for example, it was which one was it? It was Birds of Prey. Okay, Birds of Prey didn't get a lot of good acclaim because it was. I don't even care. I watched it. I liked it. I thought it was well done. It had a couple little cringy moments, but nothing overly saturated. I thought it was a good movie. It was entertaining. I liked the characters. The character development was good. I have no complaints about Birds of Prey. It was really, really good. But a lot of folks are all reading over it because I don't know why. Who cares?
But how woke was it? That's the question. How woke?
Not as bad as some might say. At least I didn't put much value in some of the wokey stuff, which was there, but it wasn't overbearing.
To me, I don't really care about it, but it's just, to me, it just seems so disingenuous. It's like, come on, man. Like, really? Like, I watched
it's
that
contrived.
Marvel.
It's contrived.
It's contrived. Like,
well, but I'll give you an example as to why it bothers me.
Okay.
Obviously, we've all heard of Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on Stranger Things, Ethan Hawke's daughter, Maya Hawke, I forget his ex-wife's name, the girl from Kill Bill, the woman from Kill Bill. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Uma Thurman.
Yeah. Okay.
Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter, Maya Hawke, is in the show in Stranger Things. And in Stranger Things, she played the role of a lesbian. Okay.
Yeah, see, that I can't go along with. Like, whenever
no, but hold on. Let me just
stuff.
explain this. She was playing the role of a teenager dealing with her sexuality, but there was nothing
overt.
She was just talking about it. There was no acting on it. There was nothing about it. Okay. The producers, actually one of the cast members, came out and did an interview saying that the directors and the producers were actually getting very frustrated with the fact that the kids were reaching puberty at a faster rate than the show was going. So there's a movie that came out on Netflix about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, called Do Revenge. And it starts with Camila Alves and Maya Hawke. Now, it's a high school-based movie, kind of Mean Girls kind of thing. And in this one, Maya Hawke also plays a lesbian. And there is a lot of visualization of that. Now, my issue with it is that I read an article from Variety saying Do Revenge has actually given the audience what they wanted to see from Maya Hawke. And I'm like, well, that's kind of perverse considering the fact that she was playing a minor in both films. So that wokeness of over sexualization towards minors is being shoved
down our throat
and down.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's an over sexualization going on. I've got kids. I don't want them to have to put up with hearing about lesbians and gay people and all that. Like, keep that stuff in the closet, man. Don't bring that stuff to the public and force it down our throat. I mean, kids don't need to be introduced to that kind of garbage. Like, we need to really get back to traditional values, and principles.
Absolutely. And, my son is 10 years old.
Think about, like, today it'll be gay marriage, stuff like that. Tomorrow it'll be, bestiality. You know what I'm saying?
They're already starting to do a movement called, what is it? What is it that they're called? Child attracted or minor attracted
MAPS
people.
You're referring to MAPS.
To what?
MAPS. They're called MAPS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what the.
You've already got groups out here that like Man Boy Love Association and
but NAMBLA's been around. They're not new. They've been around since I was a kid.
But now they're trying to, instead of using the term pedophilia or pedophile,
Soon that word will be outlawed. You can't even use grooming anymore.
They're trying to switch it because it's a woke word that offends people to minor attracted people or whatever.
Well, and one of the side effects of that interaction is that the actual LGBT community, okay, or at least the gays and lesbians, they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with those guys, right? And then what you have like the TERF movement, right? Which you're familiar with TERFs, okay? And so they're pushing against like that particular segment. And if you want to get a hint or a clue of what's coming down the pike, look what's going on in Canada. Okay, there was a case that just came up a little recent, just a couple days ago, where a teacher had these prosthetic breasts that were this comically large. I mean, they were like 85 pounds a piece. Okay, and like with very well defined areolas, nipples, and stuff. And she's in front of like fourth graders. The
woodshop teacher?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, woodshop teacher. Okay. And I'm sorry, but woodshops have spinning blades of death and destruction if you're not properly secured. So from a safety issue, it's not a good thing. And like I think that's kind of the final straw because according to some polling, the Trudeau administration is losing a lot of steam. Right, they're losing a lot of support. Their popularity is going down. There's an election coming up here, I think, in I want to say a year and a half. And so some of the early contenders, there's the 270,000 tweets. Trudeau must go, right? And then by comparison, there was like 270 tweets of like, I'm with Trudeau, yay. So not that I want to get into Canadian politics. Yeah, well, yeah, and that was so. Not that I want to get into Canadian politics because, again, a whole other topic for discussion. But it gives the U.S. a bit of a glimpse into the future of what is kind of starts there and works its way down here.
Right, and the thing about the pronouns, like in sort of some Norwegian countries, you can be fined or even imprisoned for misidentifying someone.
You have that in New York City.
Well, we have that.
I didn't even know that. That's ridiculous.
No, we have that here all over the United States.
That's crazy.
Mean, if you identify as, let's say, if you're a male and you identify as a female, and this is a known case, this actually happened. I do not recall where because I saw the news and I was appalled. This was a man who identified as a female, had not had any constructive surgery, had not lived as a woman. All he did was fill out a piece of paper up on his registration or entry or whatever, intake, that's the word. Intake in the prison. And guess what? He impregnated two of the female.
I heard that. I
remember that.
This is all it is. It's a scam. You can't be a man and be a woman. That's ridiculous.
Scott, Scott, hang on. Are you a biologist?
Exactly. No, I'm not a biologist, but I have common sense. If
it's not necessarily about biology, it's just about being a biologist or not. I mean, that whole question, are you a woman or not? It's not even that. It's the whole process of how do you naturally and how do humans properly reproduce? There's a difference between your sexual orientation. Gender is not fluid. I'm sorry.
Right, it's not fluid at all.
Nor is it a social construct.
Yeah. Right. A lot of that stuff is a result of traumas and sexual abuse, and they turn them out, man. It's called being turned out. You can get turned out, and the next thing you know, you're. But why does that have to be shoved down my kid's throat at the movie theater? It's like, come on, man.
Because
hey, Sophia, can you hear us okay? I'm sorry.
Because what they're doing is that they're trying to normalize these beliefs so kids can believe that they can have multiple partners, and they can believe, I mean, the child birth rate has dropped dramatically, and obviously that's going to continue if children are legacies. Like my son has already told me, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids, because he comes from a broken home, unfortunately, and he has seen it. My son is also a little bit, for 10 years old, he's pretty political savvy.
Right.
But when it comes to certain things, he's just like, it just doesn't make sense.
Hey, Mitzi, there's a question for you in the chat, and I just don't want to miss it because our chat is really live tonight. So I'm missing all these chats. So let me read this. It's from Forrest Taylor. He's a regular listener. And he says, I have to check out and I'm a bit behind the stream, but I would like to hear Dr. Stark's take on the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, the Palestinian journalist. What is your take on that?
I would have to read up on it, to be completely honest with you.
Was he the one that was that taken into Saudi Arabia?
Tortured and killed, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that went into Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, the reporter.
Well, unfortunately,
no, that wasn't the same guy. He was an American.
Palestinian or not, Saudi Arabia is Saudi Arabia.
I'll be back.
I don't have a problem. I do have a problem with the fact that he was killed, regardless.
Okay. I did look. I looked her up. She was the Palestinian American journalist that worked for Al Jazeera, and she died May of this year.
Regardless of the situation, I do remember the story a little bit, but regardless, it wasn't like she was a terrorist or anything like that. Okay,
I remember this one. This is the one where
she may have had opposing views to what I prefer to read, because that I don't read any of that stuff.
Well, the claim was that she was assassinated by the IDF, and from the available from what mind you, I'm going. This is back a number of months ago, and
she was not assassinated by the IDF, because the IDF would not set foot in Saudi Arabia just like that, unless
no. I think she was killed in Palestine.
In Israel?
I was thinking of, or in Israel, perhaps. I here. Let me look at it real quick. This is the one I thought that the name, because I didn't remember the name. There was another journalist that was murdered. There was another journalist that was murdered in Saudi Arabia, and that's what I thought that was brought up. But then when I looked up the name, I said, "Oh, this is the one that I think she was she killed." Let's see here. She was.
And my phone's dead, so I can't look it up.
And by the way, I want to give Sophia a chance.
She was.
Say
she was in the West. She was killed in the West Bank.
Oh, if she was killed in the West Bank, Israel has absolutely nothing to do with it, and the IDF would probably be in the West Bank, if anything, doing Samaritan help. So if anything, she probably would have been caught in the crossfires.
That and based on the available evidence that was out when the story was running around,
just based on what you just told me.
Yeah, and that was my general consensus in my own mind of how that occurred, because based on how the shooting happened and stuff, that's what it sounded like. But of course, never let a tragedy go to waste.
Yep. Hey, Sophia.
Well, the West Bank is getting inundated by weapons from Iran.
Well, that too, but let's let Sophia join up since she's got a connection here for a sec.
Yeah, she's got a connection. We want to hear from her. My co-host, how you doing?
What's up, Sophia?
About all that. I'm all right. I'm just watching, trying to catch up. I don't know really what all you're talking about, so I'm just gonna sit here and observe for a minute.
Well, it kind of ties into the Black Mermaid somehow, and we're gonna make that connection here in a minute. Not sure how, but we're working on it.
Oh, leave that to me.
Yeah, leave that to Mike. Let Sophia, just to kind of change gears just a little bit, since you weren't here for the first part, what is your thoughts on the Black Mermaid situation? Just really quick.
Me?
Yeah, as a Black woman in America in 2022.
Well, I don't have a problem with a Black mermaid in general, generally speaking. But obviously, The Little Mermaid is, I believe, a Norse story. And even in the story itself, the original story, The Little Mermaid is described as a fair-skinned, very white girl. So personally, I feel like it's not empowering to see a Black person being used as a token by the left to play the role of a white, character. So I think it would be way more empowering if Black people represented something like some powerful Black history piece or whatever, or character or whatever. So, I mean, what's the point? That's just tokenism and race politics. And as far as I see it, it shouldn't even be paid attention to.
Right.
Well, imagine if Leonardo DiCaprio was to play the role of Martin Luther King in a movie.
Well, one of the things that I don't know if
right, but here's the thing, Mike. You just did exactly what I said don't do. You're feeding into it. See, that's the problem. That's the problem with that's the problem. That's the problem with division. I mean, race politics. It causes division, and so when you flip it around and say, "Oh well, what if it was the other way around?" Here we are fighting each other. We already know this, so why even give them that?
That's good. It's a good point, and not that I'm trying to fight anybody. I'm just saying if and this is what I was saying earlier on, kind of at the beginning of the stream, is that if there's an established character, right, regardless of what the origin of that character is, and then it gets changed and people get upset, it's not because people are racist or whatever. It's because that character has a certain expectation. And I use the example of Idris Elba for James Bond. James Bond isn't a singular person. It's a role, or the character is actually a position.
Correction. Agent 007, not James Bond.
Fair enough.
No, I get your point. I get your point, Mike. I get your point, Mike. But I'm saying, of course, we already know that if it was the other way around, like back in the 60s, where straight up white people played Black roles and whatever, of course, Black people would be the first ones offended. We already know that. So I'm just saying, we don't need to be feeding into that, because all it is race politics. That's literally all it is. Personally, I'm not
more like grifting. What you're saying, more like grifting is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the left is using people as tokens to get us all to argue about this. I mean, look at social media. That was the topic for the last fucking 5 days or so. So I'm like, is that the best we can do as Americans, is sit on social media and fight each other about a mermaid? Literally, is that where we are?
I could not agree with you more. It's such a silly, thing. But look, I look at it this way.
It's gonna get worse.
Oh, it's yeah, of course.
You want to know why it's gonna get worse?
Do tell.
King Triton is white.
Say that again.
King Triton?
Oh.
The father is white.
It's just
I don't know what Disney's up to.
You lost me at King Triton. I imagine it has something to do with
Ariel's father.
Oh.
The king of Atlantis.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So I don't know all the characters in the cartoon. I
haven't seen The Little Mermaid in 20, 30 years.
So he probably adopted her.
His token Black child.
Oh God.
Or she may be biracial. I don't know. But you're absolutely right. It is. It's a Scandinavian, Norwegian, and Anglo-Saxon story, Scandinavian story, and at the end, of course, she dies. Not like the Disney version.
He offed herself over a guy, so yeah, I really don't want to claim that history.
I think Black Panther ought to be played by Tom Cruise.
Oh my God! Did you see the
that would be great.
Did you see the Ben Shapiro picture of Ben Shapiro dressed as Black Panther?
No, I didn't see that.
Paul Mooney.
Oh my God!
I'll have to see that one. And speaking of Black Panther, that was a great movie. That was really good. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
By far, one of my favorite.
Man, when I went to
and here's why. Here's why they took an original character and they made a really damn good film around it.
Yeah,
with a good script and a great cast and all this amazing storyline. It was done very, very well.
And
they was woke that day, man. I remember me and my son. He wanted to watch Black Panther, so I took him to the movie theater. I was living in California at the time. Man, we pulled up to the movie theater. There was like a line wrapped around the whole building for blocks, man. Like black people dressed up with all this African garb on.
It was a great movie.
I was in line feeling like, damn, do I belong here?
I knew nothing about Chadwick Boseman. I mean, God rest his soul. He was such an amazing human being. And I was like, Black Panther, and me being a Marvel fan, I was kind of like, that's an interesting character to introduce this fast. And to be completely honest with you, the only reason I went to go watch it was because of Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, another
the guy that played Killmonger. Because I think he's super attractive. And then I realized just how great the film was. It was very well written, and I think that they're gonna do right with Wakanda Forever. Thankfully. And I think that unfortunately, because Disney is so woke, the only reason that they're gonna go right about it in this Marvel movie, because She-Hulk which is the latest installation by Marvel. She-Hulk is the epitome of wokeism and bad CGI. They are going down the route of doing it the right way, and Shuri or his sister taking on the mantle is the correct way. That's what happens in the comics.
What was that film that they were going to release and they decided not to because it was like the crowd reception was just terrible? I can't remember what.
Batgirl.
Yes, Batgirl.
But they canceled four more DC projects.
Oh boy. Yeah.
You should have Batgirl be played by Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise can play anything.
He really can, And he's never aged a day past like 48. You know that?
No, that's because he's a Scientologist, man.
Have you seen Maverick?
The dude's got his own planet. What do you expect?
Yeah, I saw Maverick the other day.
Maverick, he looks aged.
A little bit.
I'm about to say, man, they look way more aged than they do in the movies.
Well, yeah.
In reality,
that's the magic. That's the magic of Maybelline.
Yeah, like your damn camera.
Yeah, they can do it.
Hey, there's no filter here, sweetheart.
They can do proper filtering for Tom Cruise in a movie about planes, and it has absolutely nothing to do with like science fiction. But when it comes to the Hulk, they do She-Hulk. Oh my God, the CGI is terrible.
Disgusting. She-Hulk sucks, man. Like just the whole idea of it. Just.
Well, I mean, I've been watching it. Don't get me wrong. Just because I know that it's gonna tie into something, and thankfully it's only 6 episodes. So, but that's the only reason I've been watching it. But yeah, it's just, and as Sophia said, she's absolutely right. They're trying to
stoke the fire.
One of my best friends is black. And
that's a racist thing you just said. That's what all white people say. My best friend is black. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You just virtue signal.
I can't call him African. He says he's African American, but I can call him he's African American because he's Hispanic. I'm like, you're from Belize. You're Hispanic. I'm like, stop it. I'm like, quiet, John.
Well, I'm called a mud person every day at work, so.
no, but he's an outstanding man, and his wife and his kids. Oh my God, I want to eat his little daughter.
Cannibal.
Yeah, you're off the show. Get out of here.
I'm a cannibal.
You're a cannibal.
No, but
we don't do cannibalism here, Doctor.
We tend to talk, very privately about, the social caste or caste, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
That's happening in this country, and the division that is being caused, and how they're actually trying to anger instead of the unify, as Sophia said. They're trying to anger and create more of a division by thinking that they're creating inclusion.
Man, it's like I always say, all lives matter, even the black ones.
Exactly. Humanity matters. Humanity.
Yeah, we're not gonna get anywhere as a nation if we keep playing these identity politics and race politics.
That's right.
No,
it's
idiotic.
And
when I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a transformer. Like, seriously, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a transformer. I used to watch these Japanese shows. One was called Messenger. The other one was called Voltron. And it was about people that rode this little giant robots and went into battle. And I wanted to be a pilot for one of those robots.
I am a robot.
So, I mean, when my son is 10 years old and he comes to me and he tells me, you know what, Mom? I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to go to school because of how much school costs. Even though my son doesn't have to pay a penny for school already because he has that covered thanks to his godfather. Okay? So, and he's like, I don't want to go to school. And he asked me last week, what is the most decent average job you can get to have a decent life and like a decent house? That was heartbreaking for me. That was so heartbreaking for me because I was like, when I was a little girl, I had dreams and goals. Not necessarily about money, but about what I wanted to do. And it wasn't, I want to be average.
Yeah, that stuff is really, to me, it's a little bit arbitrary sometimes because, like, how do you measure success really? But I mean, you can come up with a metric and you can kind of do that. But I think that, we talk about happiness and stuff like that, but then that's very subjective too. But yeah, I know what you mean though. There's like, everybody's falling for that philosopher mediocrities, He's like,
well, but for a 10-year-old to ask you, Mom, what, and he's like, well, I think I'm going to fail. I think I'm going to fail 5th grade. He's like, nothing. I think I'm going to fail 5th grade. So I need to start preparing because I had told him you need to graduate by the time you're 16. I'm like, I don't care what you need to do. You need to figure it out because you need to be in West Point. So you could do dual enrollment.
There you go.
I talked to him like an adult, so I'm like, no.
Well, and that was a very similar approach.
You can get away with it.
Yeah. Well, that was a similar approach I took with my kids. That was a similar approach that I took with my sons because I have 3 sons. And when they were 8, 9 years old, I says, guys, you got 10 years left before you're out. So whatever you're doing with school, you better prepare yourself for the real world because it's 10 years and, time's running out. Hey, guys, it's 9 years. You better figure out what you want to do. So we gave them a decade of prepping. And by the time my kids were 18, 19 years old, all 3 of them were on their own, making their own money and doing their own life, So children can be guided and molded, okay, to become, regardless of their background, regardless of their skin color, racial background, whatever, they can be guided and molded to be great, contributions to society. Okay, to be self-sufficient, you can teach them how to do that, right? And that's a good thing. I think Mitzi's phone finally died, and so anyhow, you can raise kids regardless to be productive and to learn the things. But in the school system over the last 50 or 60 years, because of all this, like, I'm this moral, superior, morally superior to you, we're going to teach all these kids all these things that they don't need. And they're replacing actual useful things like, being able to read, being able to do mathematics, right? I was having a conversation with somebody else a couple days ago, pointing out that, just because a municipality or a state government or even the Fed dumps tons of money into a school system, okay? And if I remember the specs, I'll go over them here in a second, is that, oh, well, this school system in this area is not doing any well because they're not getting enough money per pupil. Okay, that's a fair argument. Let's look at the largest amount of money per pupil spent in the country, and that's the New York City school system. They spend about $28,000 per pupil per school year, right? And I think it's 60%. I may have the percentage off, but a rather sizable percentage of graduates don't know how to read.
Wow.
In the modern year. Okay. Jeez. In the modern year, you want to talk about, where's that money going? It's ridiculous.
It's political. They'd rather push wokeism in school and
right.
critical race theory and stuff like that.
How many kids come out of high school wanting to go to college, right? But they're not going into fields like the trades, right? A tradesman, a carpenter, a framer, a plumber, they're making six figures like right out of the chute with no college debt.
Heck yeah, and it's a pathway upwards because with something like that, you could start your own business. You could create like my brother, he's a black guy and he owns his own construction company. He started off just building windows and painting, and people used to think, wow, what a very basic, low hanging fruit sort of goal you have. But now look at him. He employs people. He makes a lot of money, owns a property.
Well, and you and I are about the same age, and so Sophia. I think Sophia's a little younger than I am. But how many people, okay, growing up in our age when we were in like elementary and junior high and high school, oh no, if you don't go to college, then you'll be a plumber. You'll be playing, you don't want to do that kind of work. It's dirty work for dumb people.
Yeah.
I heard that a lot as a kid growing up, and I'm like, plumbers are cool. What's wrong with being a plumber? What's
Nothing
wrong
at all, right?
My grandfather was a master carpenter. Okay, what's wrong with being a master carpenter?
Yeah.
Those are honorable, honest, good, honest work. And so why were people in school telling me as a kid, no, you have to go to college to be an anthropologist or a lawyer or, get a degree in something, competitive basket weaving and take on this $200,000 of debt, right? And then you wonder, well, now that I'm out of college, I can't get a job that pays six figures because I got this degree in competitive basket weaving and I don't know what to do about it. I deserve to have my loans forgiven.
Right.
Well, you picked the bad field. I'm sorry.
Exactly. That's what it is. And I mean, you should just go for what you're passionate for, because regardless of what the thing is, if you're passionate enough about it, you're going to devote yourself to it. And you can get good at anything if you do it enough. And if you're passionate,
there is innumerable videos on like any platform, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, that shows some of these carpenters making some absolutely stunning things. And the amount of engineering that it takes to do that, right? To make these really cool, devices made out of wood or whatever, or metal and welding, another amazingly necessary trade is welding. Okay. And welders can make $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month, depending on the field that they're in, sometimes even more.
I think Sophia knows somebody that wants to be a welder.
Yeah, my son, and he's 12.
And he should then what I would do, I would start at 12 years old. I'd start getting him watching videos on how to start learning how to weld. So by the time he gets the device in his hand, he's going to be able to be familiar. Oh, this is how you do this. This is how you do this, and then he'll breeze through the training.
Yeah,
he's already doing that.
Hell yeah,
he's already doing that, and he's completely obsessed with the idea. He's already looked up how much he can make, once he learns how to do it.
Yeah,
and he's gonna have
a head start.
Yeah, he's already looking up states and cities where he would make the most being a welder. I mean, he's going all in, and he's about to turn 13.
Like I always wanted to be a knight, but
a knight,
a knight in shining armor, baby.
Yeah, but that's because you watched entirely too much Monty Python as a kid.
But I have to say though, I don't know if it's like that in every state, but I feel like single moms are really being shitted on. Especially by far right Republican males, and I'm really sick and tired of it, because no woman sets out to just have kids and be single, and I feel like to hold the woman entirely responsible is so ridiculous to me. It really makes me
a lot of
angry
emphasis needs to be on the man that walks away from his family. Like, where's the responsibility in that?
Well, according to Brandon Tatum, we run them off. So it's our fault if you decide as a grown-ass man that you're not going to take care of your kid. And that pisses me off, because I don't care how you feel about the mother. You still got to be there for your kid. I mean, it takes two to tangle. So yeah, I feel like single moms are not being given enough credit. And we do have a lot of obstacles, because we're looked down upon like we're less than shit in this country. I know that for a fact, because it's not like that in Germany. Men don't get away with the shit they get away with here. That doesn't even really happen like that. So that's just one of my problems that I would like to just say for the hell of it, because I
just wanted to agree with you here real quick, because unfortunately I'm one of those guys that left his family, but I didn't leave them on choice. I kind of was driven out. I'm one of those situations where it was that way, but this is the difference though. I still take care of my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still responsible for my family. And that's right. The message that I think people need to realize. That's the whole point. Yeah, that's the whole point, man.
That's the whole point. People may not get along. People may have to separate. I mean, that's understandable. Yeah. But that doesn't excuse to just say,
exactly.
I don't care.
Let me add this too. There was a point in my life where I was the single dad. And man, it was hard, because you know how much babysitters cost? Like, I had to go get a job. I had to work 8 hours a day, but then I have to spend almost more money than I'm making on a babysitter. And it's just impossible. And then they were small.
It's a cycle.
And so, it was just crazy. And so I was just lucky I had family to come in and assist me at that particular time. But imagine you have people that don't have family around or available for them to step in and kind of help you out. And the fathers who walk out or get pushed out or whatever the situation might be should always still send money for their kids, be in their life, do the right thing, and vice versa. Like the wife, if she's the one who stepped out, she should also.
In very rare cases, I would say there are women who make it really hard for the other parent to be involved. That does happen, but that's not generally the case. But just what really gets under my skin, too many men are talking about this shit. I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
Men have absolutely no right to sit there and tell me what I should have done or how I should have went or anything like that. Based on what are you judging that? Like, you're not going through it. You're not raising kids by yourself. So why do these far right men have so much to say about it? Like, you have no idea what my. Go ahead.
Let me just play devil's advocate for just a minute, because we're all a kind of a culmination of our own personal experiences, right? And so your experience with your life situation is going to be unique to you.
It's not just a personal experience. I mean, I'm talking about a lot of statistically speaking, in the Black community, Black men are known to walk out on their kids. I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah. And what would you say is the driving reason behind that? Just as far as given your close proximity to that reality, what causes that?
There are several reasons. For one, the government encourages these men to do what they're doing. Like, I'll give you a good example, and this is based on personal experience. My son's dad never done anything for his kid, and he applied for disability, and he's getting a check, and he's living in a complex where he's paying zero rent. I mean, even I pay rent, even I pay my bills, and I get assistance from the government with food stamps. I can't even get help with medical insurance or anything like that.
So he's gaming the system.
Yeah, and it's easy to do for these guys. You know what I mean? It's very easy to do. And child support is hardly ever enforced. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, they closed the child support case in the state that he was in. I don't know if he told them I fucking died or what, but you know what I'm saying? So it's just easy. They still make it out here like it ain't nothing, and we're left with literally the entire burden on us. And then we get told shit like, well, you should have picked a different guy. Really? Get slapped. Get fucking slapped.
Yeah, because that's the very next thing that pops in everybody's head. Well, why are you sleeping with the guy and having babies with a guy that's a piece of shit to begin with? So they try to put it out on you.
They're obviously not like that. Like, I would never.
The same argument can be put on the guy who had to walk away from his family. Why did you sleep with a piece of shit woman if she was so bad that you had to be driven away from your family? Like, if that's.
But they don't do that. They don't do that, though. That's never asked. It's only asked the other way around every single time. And there's just
I've seen the argument go both ways, because for me it's like I
never see it.
I see it as a calling out of the behavior regardless of which gender's doing it. Right.
That might be you, but that ain't the reality of it. You may see it like that, and you may have that much respect, but that's not the reality of it. I see the narrative every day. I live it. I get told that shit all the time. Okay. I'm a single mom. I'm telling you, that's how it is. There's no ifs and buts about it.
I agree 100% with Sophia.
And I've lived in different countries. I've seen different things. In America as a whole, it's always that, oh, pick yourself up by the fucking bootstraps. I was in the gutter and I made it. I don't be wanting to hear that stuff. Like, I really don't. You don't know somebody, the next man's obstacles. And you may have qualities that the next man doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying we lack compassion in this country.
We do.
And I'm not one of those people that says you're not accountable for your own mistakes or you shouldn't be held accountable for anything, because I'm not like that. I'm the last one who would be that way. But at the same time, you got to have some compassion, because some people did not choose their circumstances. Some people just really didn't. And that's something I was going to bring up on one of our last shows, because at the end of the day, what do you tell a child that's getting raped by their dad every night? How many choices does that child really have to become somebody? Or are you telling me that the environment that this child grew up in did not at all influence this child's choices or chances? Are you telling me that? And then if you say, well, I made it out of a bad situation and things happened to me, but that's you. That's an anomaly. That doesn't happen, generally speaking. Generally speaking, children like that grow up to be either drug addicts or some other type of traumatic ass bullshit.
The data indicates that. The data says if little boy, like for example, little boys come from single parent homes, generally, not everybody, but generally, they're going to not be productive citizens. They're gonna be involved in the system's they're gonna be in and out of the system, involved in crime and things. I mean, that's the whole point that conservatives make, is that we need to get back to family values and a nuclear family.
Right.
And stuff
but
like
also,
that.
Also one of the main things that we overlook is you can't help yourself when you're not aware. If you're not aware that you're mentally ill because you've been abused and traumatized, if you don't have
stigma,
if you don't have, if you don't have access to the information that can actually help you, you know, so you can learn and understand your trauma, then how in the hell are you going to pick yourself up out of bootstraps? You know what I mean? How does that happen?
Well, there's
even if you acknowledge it, and even if you get therapy, sometimes it's super tough to get out of that those situations, because either financially or socioeconomically, or whether it's your job or whether it's family that you need to take care of, you can't. I mean, so even if you have those mental issues and you have the acknowledgement of the trauma, I have CPTSD. I have been diagnosed with Stockholm Syndrome from my previous marriage. And it took me about 5 years for me to get a proper diagnosis.
Right.
And why did you choose that person? That's what they'll tell you. Why did you choose to get into that? It's your fault.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's my fault.
You shouldn't have chose that guy.
There's a complete target towards women right now. And I'm sorry, but I'm not a feminist. I will say this first.
I'm not either. But I draw the line. I have to draw the line at some point. I'm not going to go that far right. And what really set me off today.
Yeah, but unfortunately, people like Amber Heard and that whole Me Too movement, for people that really need or are really in those situations that really need help and really need probably public assistance from, you know, because there are government and public aid systems that will help you with therapy, but we can't afford it anymore, because every woman, you just look at them apparently and they're like, oh, I was assaulted. No.
Right. And they make it bad for the people who actually need the help.
Right. And then people like Sophia was saying, like you know, she's having issues with her kid's father. I'm having issues with my kid's father. You think the court you don't even need to ask Mike. Mike knows what I have been going through.
It's been hell.
And it's a joke. It's a complete joke.
And I think that more relates to the actual.
I was diagnosed with Stockholm Syndrome, and I don't know if any of you know what that is.
Please tell our audience what you mean.
Stockholm Syndrome is usually something that's diagnosed to women or people who are in a relationship and are basically, it sounds harder than what it is. So let me explain the definition versus how I was diagnosed. When you're basically manipulated by your partner to the point that you're basically held hostage and you're so scared that you're not going to do anything against them. Like, you know, you hear those, you've heard those stories of like a guy who has kept someone in their basement for like 15 years and all of a sudden appears and they have like kids with them and things like that. That's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Gotcha.
In my case,
yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, in my case,
I can relate to that.
It's called emotional Stockholm Syndrome. I was emotionally like not allowed to do anything.
You had a trauma bond or something with that person.
Yeah, it's traumatic. So my last time that I was in court, and I told them before I went to court, the day before, I told them I am not feeling well, because I knew that I was going to have to confront my ex-husband for the first time in 7 years, be face to face in front of him. I had a seizure in the courthouse, and I ended up hospitalized. Do you think they care? No. And they don't realize that the reason that I had a seizure was because it was stress-induced. And I was there because he's asking me for child support. And he's saying that it's because I can work and I don't have seizures. And right in front of the judge, I had a seizure.
Wow.
So it goes to show you that and it goes to show you that sometimes the system is so unbalanced. And thankfully, I am in Florida, and thankfully DeSantis is doing a lot of good things in Florida.
I might come that way. Really, for real.
Come on down, girl.
Don't come to Miami.
So you're in Florida too? Y'all all in Florida, really?
Yes, ma'am.
I take that as a sign.
It is.
No, but seriously, man, I'm saying, like, look, I want to make some things clear. Look, I'm not a feminist either by any means. I do believe that, you know, of course I'm pro women, you know, obviously, but I'm not into this whole third wave feminism that we're victims every time you look around and shit like that. And I don't see myself as a victim. And I do take, I take partial responsibility for every choice that I make. But that I made when it comes to my children and the wrong guys and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, I'm not the only one responsible, and I have carried my burden. I didn't walk away from my children. I do what I'm supposed to do and more, you know. So I'm carrying my load. I'm taking my responsibility, but I still get shitted on by this country and their dad, because I got more than one baby daddy. They're out here running around living the life and getting handouts. So how is that encouraging them to ever step up to the plate? It's not going to, you know.
Well,
how is it going
to? No, and then people like me, guess what, Sophia? I get nothing. I am ineligible for disability, eligible for any kind of public support, eligible for anything.
I don't get shit either except food stamps, and I do get.
I don't get anything.
I live in an apartment complex that has mold growth in it, and the sewer is backing up all the way outside, all over the place. No. And you know, I don't barely pay rent there though, and that's the only help I get. And the reason that way I ended up in that place wasn't even because I couldn't afford to live anywhere else. I couldn't move anywhere because my dad stole my identity when I came from Germany or whatever. And then after Hurricane Katrina, he committed fraud under my social security number.
You German?
So, yeah. So in 2000, I think it was 2011 or 2012, I was contacted by I was contacted by the Department of Treasury, and they said I owed him like $50,000. I don't know how much it was anymore. And so I've been paying that back for the last like 10 years. I was never able to get my refund. Every time I got a job, they took 25%. And I was already a lot of times just making minimum wage, trying to work myself up, and they're still taking 25%. And so at one point I was coming home with a check for like $320 a week, and I'm raising 3 fucking kids. And so I'm like, how does the government, you know, place that kind of burden on a mama? How do you do that? You're trying to kill me, obviously.
Because the government wants to play mother.
I drew up my own depositions because I didn't have money for a lawyer, and I pleaded with them. I got them all the information that they needed. I told them that the burden of proof was up on them because they needed to produce the signature on the check that obviously wasn't mine, and they weren't fucking. I tried to educate myself. I tried to draw up the paperwork that I needed to. I tried to do what I can, and it just didn't work, and they just kept taking my money. And so just recently in March is when they finally said, because I kept calling, kept trying to get in touch with somebody, kept having them give me another hearing. It's been going on for years, like literally years. It's 2022. So I was like, how are y'all still taking this money? Like I should have then paid it back a million times over. Y'all done took like 7,000-8,000 from me every year, if not more. And so finally this lady looks into it and she's like, well, it was never updated. And so in reality, the government owes me a shit ton of money, but all they did was close my case, but they didn't pay me shit back. So the only thing that came out of it that's good is that now if I file my taxes, I can actually get my refund. But I'm not getting any of that money back, any of the hardships they caused me, any of the shit I had to go through, all them years that they took all my fucking money. I've been homeless twice.
And fraud case,
Wow.
When my kids were little babies, the boys, I was homeless twice. 2 of my boys had a birthday in a shelter because of this shit. And I told him who committed the fraud and who did it and how it happened. And even FEMA verified that shit, that they sent out a check to this man who is my dad, my sperm donor, and they never came after him. And this fucker is sitting on 2 houses and cars and everything. The men get away with everything in this fucking country. Like literally, I could tell you 50,000 stories like that. So where is the compassion for us single moms who carry the burden? Where are the compassionate men? That's what I want to know.
And we're the nurturers. We're the ones who nurture. We're the ones who care for the men that take care of the country.
Yep.
Yeah, and they don't appreciate it. They don't fucking appreciate it. And so I'm not even a lesbian, but I'm to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be a lesbian.
Well, they got an antidepressant for that now. They do have an antidepressant for lesbians.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
They have what?
They have an antidepressant for lesbians. It's called tricoxagon
for everything.
Yeah, no, see that's what fucked my life up, and that's what fucked my life up right there. That's why I don't even want it no more. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine.
I picked up what you put down there, Scott.
Tricoxagon.
I'm perfectly fine without it.
There you go.
I am perfectly fine without it. Trust me. And I'm not saying I don't. I'm not even one of those women that says I don't need no man, because honestly, I would like to have one, but I ain't trying to go through all the bullshit of trying to find one. So I'm like, fuck it,
You have a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
As it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign off, guys.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm gonna sign off. I've got stuff in the morning, so you carry on, and I'll see you on the next stream, and we'll talk again, because this is always good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Bye,
Thanks for joining us, man.
See you, dear. Have a good one.
Yeah.
I'll probably go in a few minutes too, because I need to sleep, because I need to start getting ready to pick up my son for Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, and I got to get home too. I mean, I've been having some serious issues, and it's really not my service. There's something going on with the towers out here. And
I think it's going it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, there's definitely an issue ever since they activated the 5G shit. I don't think that the towers in this small ass town were equipped for that or whatever. And it's just causing so many issues, like in this little rural town. So I don't know what to do about it.
With us, what happened, even though we're in Florida, in North Carolina last year, 3 towers exploded.
Whoa.
And there were 3 of the main AT&T towers.
That's crazy. But yeah, there's definitely something going on with the towers out here. Because yesterday, me and Scott did a test run.
Those towers send signals to Florida.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
but we'll get it together. We'll figure something out. Hopefully, I won't have this issue forever. Yesterday we did a test run and everything worked fine, and I expected it to be like that today. But I mean, none of the networks were working. There were other people in my area who were having issues, and right now I'm actually at the store, and I can get a signal here for some reason. But then when I get closer to that tower on the other side of town, I'm not getting anything. It's going in and out. It's just horrible. So yeah, I'm sorry for kind of ruining. I'm sorry for kind of.
No, you're fine.
I wanted to say I'm sorry for kind of ruining the show a little bit here and there when I was trying to come in, and sorry for not having seen the conversation. But I'm definitely gonna go back and rewatch it. And thanks for coming, Misty, and Mike's already gone. But yeah, sorry about all that. And Scott, sorry.
It's okay, but I'll just to round up with what the topic was. My only complaint about The Little Mermaid in a trailer was that because Ariel had such red lips, they should have put some lipstick on that girl. That was my only complaint about the whole thing. I was like, why doesn't she?
Where's the lipstick?
I'm like, just a little bit of red, just a little.
Right.
But I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, they're shoving it in our faces, and they're shoving it like now, especially now with the popularity of streaming services. And that's one of the things that really scares me, is because the access of minors having access to streaming services. And not all streaming services have a child security or security setting.
Yep.
They don't.
They don't. My son is 10 years old, and he will grab my iPad. But granted, he'll be sitting next to me. But he knows my password. He saw me put it in once, and every time he grabs my iPad, he's just like, and he puts it in, and he'll watch Netflix. I see what he watches. You know what I mean? And there are some things that I've told him, nope, you're not gonna watch that. You know, and I have let him watch things that are probably above his age, but I've watched it with him. But this whole thing that Disney is doing, Disney is becoming a monster.
Yeah.
And DeSantis is going after Disney.
Yes, he is. He really is. Because he sees what's going on. And because, you know, they're trying to cash in on the whole wokeism, and he ain't having it, you know.
Well, when I was in Orlando, when was it? In
like about 2 months ago?
No, it was a little longer than that. No, I think it was around at the beginning of the summer, like June.
Yeah, June.
Yeah. I was in June, whenever Pride Month was. Whatever that is.
Yep.
Okay, so I walked into Walgreens. Okay. Yeah, it was June because that was when I had my court date. So I walked into Walgreens and I wanted to go into the travel section just to get a little bottle of shampoo and conditioner because I had forgotten to pack some. And there is an aisle of all the little plushes, like the little plushies. And they were all Pride.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was all over the place, man.
And I mean, I get you wanting to support it. I have a friend who's transgender. Okay, I have a friend who's transgender, and she's actually pretty famous. Her name is Erica Irvin. She was in American Horror Story.
Okay.
And she's pretty moderate conservative. But that's because she's learned throughout her life and her experience after what she's been through.
Right.
And she agrees. And she agrees that this is just a mess. And she says it's going to be a reckoning.
Right.
Because us that don't agree with that
are going to come out. Right.
Are going to come out.
And they have. We did a whole show on it, about different people in the transgender community. Even Sophia's in the transgender community, was in it. And don't necessarily agree with how they've hijacked it and monopolized the movement to be something unhealthy and kind of like a shield for pedophilia and groomers and things like that, to where you can't even use the word groomer because it's starting to become too politically incorrect to use. But it's actually just a way. It's just a way to hide them and protect the pedophiles in many cases, and it's really a sad thing. But it looks like we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes. We kind of went on pretty long.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do, man. We have a call in, and so everybody can jump in and join, and we enjoy it, And look, guys, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, get the notification bell so you know when the next show's coming on.
Hit subscribe, hit like, hit the notification bell.
That's it.
And you can hear me rant more.
That's right. We'll
all
rant. You can hear us rant. You can even come on the show and rant yourself. So how do you beat that? How can you beat that? So until next week, guys. Really appreciate everybody's participation. It was really lit tonight, man. Really enjoyed it.
It was really nice meeting you, Scott.
Nice to meet you too.
I look forward to having another conversation with you.
Yeah, come on in next week. We'll do it again.
All right. You have a great night.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.